We're here at day 4 of Commander Masters spoilers, and it has been a wild ride. This set has gone from very lackluster to kind of okay to full-blown fucking fantastic party. This looks crazy cool, and I'm really excited about it. At this point, I think it's fair to say we've gotten a lot of good reveals. So, let's jump into the video and talk about some of the bigger announcements from today, right now. Alright, thanks so much everybody for checking out the video, and before we actually get started, I definitely was not being hyperbolic in the intro. There are some absolutely wild hits that are coming up in just a minute, and I'll cover them, but I made a slight mistake yesterday, and I was, burned at the stake for it, so I just want to clarify. I was talking about Zetalpa Primal Dawn getting a reprint, and I had mistakenly said that it was a good reprint, a well-deserved reprint, and that it was a $5 to $10 card. I had mixed that up with a different card I was thinking of in my head when I had been looking at the list. So obviously, just to please those of you who were so offended by it, yes, it is not a great reprint. It is kind of a bulk rare, and I apologize for any confusion or misspoken statements there. Yeah, so bad reprint. Okay, great. Now, let's move on to the actual stuff that's significant in today's video, starting off with Doubling Season. Thank God. I have been waiting on this card to get reprinted for so long because no matter how many times they reprint it, it has still been an $80+ card, and this one is huge. It's a great mythic. It is the best token, doubler in the game, and it also, doubles your counters too, so that's fucking great. Why not have, access to all of that? And this is another one of the big hitter mythics. I mean, the mythic slot has just gone way up, in my opinion, in terms of good cards to include after yesterday. Doubling Season, I saw this last night. Magic's TikTok spoiled it, and this is a massive, massive win, in my opinion, for the set. So, Doubling Season, A+, great. Be cool if we also got Anointed Procession, but I think as of the time I'm filming this, there's only, a bit more spoilers to come out. I don't know how much we got left. We'll cover that in a second video later today, if and when it is applicable. Now, Flawless Maneuver. We kind of know that all 5, I think, of these free cast commander spells are going to be in the set. 4 of them have been spoiled, and we're just waiting on Fierce Guardianship, but at this point, it seems more like just a waiting game than anything. A good card. This was on the cheaper end. It was reprinted in the Commander deck in March of the Machines. Still, really good card. The artwork is cool. I really like the designs kind of covering the frame, if you will. Some people not a fan. Either way, it does have a standard version if you're not into that, but Flawless Maneuver is a great reprint. Astronaut's Altar, a good uncommon that got reprinted in Brothers War, so it did drop the price down, but still, a relatively expensive card, and just one of those cards that I think will continue to go back up over time. So having this as an uncommon in the set is great, because I'd rather the uncommons and commons be cards that we actually want to pull and will play, versus random filler crap. Toxic Deluge. Again, this was in the Lord of the Rings Commander deck. It was a $12 to $15 card, and then it dropped down to maybe $8 to $9. I think this reprint may finally take it down a few more pegs to maybe a $5 card at the end of the day. But it's a good reprint, it's a good rare, and generally speaking, just a very popular black card in Commander. So it is a win across the board as far as I'm concerned with that. Next up, we've got YuGiOh the Tiger's Shadow. Not as expensive as it once was, but Commander 2018, Mystery Booster, really the only places this card has shown up, as well as Commander Legends, I believe, was the other place. And this is just a good card. It's a very popular commander, and it's another decent rare. Obviously, there are a lot of bulk rares in the set, and I'm glad that they're starting to, drop more rares that aren't necessarily bulk. It doesn't excuse the inclusion of bulk rares versus the price point. I just want to stress that, because I know that was a big, point of contention, was well, it's still a really expensive product, and I'm well, yeah, especially for set boosters, but at least we're starting to, kind of come around a little bit with the rares. Next up is Cyclone, kind of a cool card. I'm not super familiar with this card's pricing history, so just covering that it's here and we'll move on, but I'm sure it's either good or bad, one of the two. Arachnogenesis, this is massive. With Shelob coming out in Lord of the Rings, this card spiked up to $70, dropped back down to 50, but it's only got one print from Commander, and it's just an extremely good card, especially for spiders, but just in certain green or token-based strategies in general, and this is a very welcome reprint because it should hopefully drop the card's price down to a much more reasonable level. Again, a good rare inclusion, and a reprint of a $50 card is really solid. Days Undoing, this card I'm fairly certain was not worth much at all. I actually think this might have gotten reprinted relatively recently, although I could be wrong on that. But looking up the data for the card, it's not worth much at all. It was like a $7 card, so I guess it's okay, but I mean, it might have just been a scarcity thing. I think I'm confusing it with Pull from Tomorrow in terms of cards that were reprinted. I'm not 100% sure. Someone can let me know in the comments on that. But either way, price-wise, it's nothing crazy, but it's a decent card. So, you know, for whatever that's worth. We've got AVACYN, Angel of Hope. We knew AVACYN was going to be in here. There were still shot images on the packaging designs. But this card, again, it was last reprinted in Double Masters, and it's a very, very good card that was just still really pricey. So, another good hit, another good Mythic slot hit. I mean, there's a lot of Mythics that people are going to be wanting to pull from this set, I think. And I'm hopeful that that will do, you know, things for the prices on some of them. But you'll also have your cards that are just, you know, tried and true, are not just going to drop in price, because that's just how they kind of go. Rascar Demon is an okay reprint. It is kind of in the bulk category, though. It's a $5 rare, so it's not quite bulk, but this reprint will probably bring it down more. It's not bad. It's definitely a neat card in decks like Kalia and other, you know, demon-based strategies, maybe Shadowborn Apostle decks and such, but it's not exactly, you know, the greatest reprint that I've ever seen, and at least it's better than, like, some of the 50-cent rares they're reprinting if we have to look for positives. Bloodchief Ascension, a $15-ish card from the original Zendikar with only a list reprint. Got a really cool artwork here and just a solid value reprint. I think anything over 10 that's getting a reprint is a pretty good inclusion, and should definitely be something that we can at least look at it and say, okay, well, great, it's going to make it more affordable. It does seem like there are some people who are just, like, really salty about the reprints in general. Like, the comments I've noticed are very divided. It's either, like, people that are like, yeah, great, more affordable, and people that are like, oh, my reprints, like, I don't know, I'll make a video talk about it after all the spoilers are out, just kind of talking about the idea of reprints and the divide amongst the community that seems to exist there, because it is interesting how people actually feel about it. Gilded Lotus, a rare, decent card, was in Brothers War, not worth a crazy amount of money, but it's still a pseudo, not staple, but, you know, kind of a big inclusion option in a lot of commander strategies, so it's fine. I'm happy to see it here. I'd rather pull this as like a $1 or $2 rare than like some of the other crap that's in there. Quan Lord of Woo is getting a reprint, and I did mention in a preview video about my thoughts on the Portal 3 Kingdom stuff. This was only in Portal, and then it was in From the Vault, but this is like a $140 card market price, so a very, very good reprint from a value perspective. I don't know how much play it's going to see necessarily, but, I mean, it might be neat as, like, a commander to, like, you know, build something around horsemanship. I don't know if we'll get any of the other horsemanship cards. I'd be surprised if we did, but we'll have to see. This is a cool card, a cool inclusion, and nice to see them dipping more into Portal. So, yeah, that's pretty neat. CRATERHOOF Behemoth, not a bad reprint at all. This card is in Jumpstart last, as far as I know, and it was also in AVACYN Restored before that. It's a very, very good card that is a really fun kind of game pusher, if you will, and I like it a lot. And so this is a good reprint. It's going to bring the value down, obviously, a little, but I don't think this is going to be a card that just sees a crazy dip. It's probably going to stay relatively close to where it's at, and it is still a mythic here, so, you know, there's not a lot of room for it to, you know, go crazy in another direction. Deflecting SWAT, that artwork is absolutely amazing, which seems to be the theme for all of these free cast commander spells, but this was a big one. This was like a $40 card. This is an extremely good card, and like I said, this being revealed basically more or less confirms Fierce Guardianship. We just haven't seen an official leak for it yet. So this cycle being in rare is really, really good for the like decks in general that want to have access to these strategies, because Commander 2020 was the only time these were ever printed, and they're just really hard to find. So that is a great move, in my opinion. Rascar the Foul-Blooded is next. This is a pretty good reprint. This is coming from Hour of Devastation, and it doesn't exactly have too many reprints, so not bad there. It's about a $20 card, give or take, before the reprint announcement, so definitely a welcome reprint. And again, hopefully, you know, being in Mythic, it'll keep the price at a somewhat okay level, but make it a bit more affordable. And it's nice that there's going to be a foil variant of it now that's not going to cost an arm and a leg. Zalortha, Strength Incarnate. This is actually a reprint from what I think is Ikoria, but I'm not 100% sure on that. It also had a Godzilla variant. The Godzilla variant's like $5, so I can't imagine the card itself is worth all that much. This kind of falls more into the bulk rare category, but it is still cool to see. You know, here, obviously, they leaned into the dinosaur stuff a lot, so that's, you know, a nice option to have, but I'm not, like, that's not an intriguing reprint for me. And speaking of not intriguing reprints, the last card in this first part of the video is Teysa Karlov. This card's like 30 cents. Again, bad include. Like, I'll shit on stuff that's bad, but I also feel like it's fair to be kind of, you know, recognizant of the fact that there are some really, really good cards in the set, and the reprints and sort of inclusion of a lot of big hitter value cards is a very good thing for players of the game. So, Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below of this slate of reveals. I think this might be one of the strongest ones other than yesterday's. And I'm doubling seasons got me pumped, as well as deflecting SWAT and CRATERHOOF and Arachnogenesis. I mean, there's so many cool cards. So let me know in the comments. Be sure to like the video and comment down below. Subscribe and click the bell icon if you want to stay notified. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.